Hi everyone, welcome to Kitchen Table Bible Studies. I'm Brother Kevin, and if you're new to the channel, please please subscribe. We're a growing channel, and we want to keep this going. As a reminder, this channel is about giving news, or if it's newsworthy, it's from a biblical perspective. All right, and we will give our opinion according to the Bible. Now, you're going to hear like cars and stuff go by, and because I got to kind of open in here, I'm at work. So that's what we want to do. We're giving a biblical perspective. We're giving an opinion from a biblical perspective. We're not doctors. We're not that. We're just giving an opinion. All right. And so for YouTube, don't shut us down just because we're giving an opinion. It can happen. But it's just a biblical perspective on things. See, people are going by. It's all wonderful. All right. So what I wanted to talk to you about today was what we were going through 2 weeks ago. We were talking about the COVID vaccine, and the question is the COVID vaccine really a vaccine? And in my opinion, it's not, because a vaccine, to the best of my ability, the best of my knowledge, all right, just reading with and using common knowledge, a vaccine is supposed to prevent you from getting something. For instance, when I was a kid and I had to go to school, and this was a long time ago, and I'm talking about primary school a long time ago, like kindergarten a long time ago. So by no means am I old, but I'm just saying back then it was not the same vaccinations that my kids had to get. So, but you had to get certain vaccines like smallpox, measles, mumps, and so forth. There's more than that, I'm sure, but those are the ones I remember you had to get. And the vaccination, all right, when you got that, you got a piece of the dead shell from each one of those things injected into you to get your immune system to react to it if you were ever polio. That was the other one I was thinking of. Get to react to it, all right, to create antibodies, to create killer T cells to attack the infection. That's what they're for, all right. They're to prevent, all right, you from getting it also, either to attack or to prevent, all right. Most vaccines, as we know them, are, in my opinion, to prevent things from happening, prevent sicknesses, prevent polio, prevent smallpox, prevent measles, prevent mumps, whatever else they have at that time. Now this was a worked up, it's called a vaccine, but is it really a vaccine? All right, and you have to be careful with vaccines. I remember, and I'm going to tell you a quick story because I only have about a half hour. When I was pastoring a church, I had a family that was in there, and I'm not going to give names because that's confidential. I can tell the story, but I will not give names because that's confidential. Just like a doctor can't give you names, they can give you cases of which they know of, but they will not give you the name of the person because that was a breach of confidentiality. But what happened was, you might hear drums in the background, so that's okay, we'll talk over it. So what happened is the new vaccine Gardasil came out, and I didn't feel right in my spirit about it. And I told the mother, I said, from the reading I had done, I said to her, I said, don't give this to your daughter. Because I've been hearing in the trials it had like adverse effects. Like, you know, some people had died, some people had come down with different things, different allergic reactions to it. The unintended consequences that come with this and these trials. Unfortunately, she didn't listen to me, and what happened to her daughter is it left her crippled. She walks with a crippled limp for the rest of her life. And so you have to get all the information, all right, you can about vaccines or any type of stuff like that someone's going to give you therapy, all right. But the COVID-19 vaccine, from my understanding and for what I've been reading, all right, is not a vaccine at all. All right. And this was written in LifeSite News. And it's an article, and I'm not going to say who wrote it, but it's Dr. David Martin, PhD, who said in an interview that mRNA is not a vaccination. It's a gene therapy that was originally developed for cancer treatment. On top of that, Martin described the role the media has played in propagating falsehoods around PCR testing for COVID-19. Now, PCR test, you have to have a live PCR test. All right, it will find the DNA of said thing. It has to be a live one, though. It has to be a live PCR test for it to be any way effective. Not much I know. Having had Lyme disease, they have to give live PCR tests, because if you're just looking for a PCR test, if you keep searching, you'll get a false positive. Sometimes you'll get a false negative. I mean, it can happen. You need live PCR, from my understanding. Remember, I'm not a doctor. This is all opinion based off what I read. All right. So he goes on to say here that mRNA is not a vaccination. It's a gene therapy that was originally developed for cancer treatment. That is true. That's Moderna was founded upon that. And we'll get into that later. On top of that, Martin described the role media has played in propagating falsehoods around PCR testing for COVID-19. All right. And he says this: COVID-19 is not a disease. This is Dr. David Martin, not me. Dr. David Martin said COVID-19 is not a disease. It is a series of clinical symptoms. It is a giant umbrella of things associated with what we used to be associated with influenza and other febrile diseases, including muscle pain, body ache, and fever. After establishing reliability problems of PCR testing and the conflation of SARS-CoV-2 with COVID-19, Martin explained why he thinks mRNA vaccines are falsely called vaccines and that they work like gene therapy. All right. According to Martin, a vaccination is typically understood as being a treatment, with an attenuated or a live virus. That means a dead shell of it that still has it, or a live virus, or a fragment. That's what I meant right there. The fragment thereof, which is meant to keep you from getting an infection, is meant to keep you from transmitting the infection. So, let me go back before what I was saying before. So I have a doctor here correcting me. So it prevents from getting an infection. It's meant to keep you from transmitting an infection, whether it be fungal, viral, bacterial, parasitical. All right. The problem is that in the case of Moderna and Pfizer, this is not a vaccine. This is gene therapy. He continued. But Moderna and Pfizer creations send a strand of synthetic RNA into the human body and is invoking with the human being the creation of the S1 spike protein, which is a pathogen. This is not only not keeping you from getting sick, it is making your body produce the thing that makes you sick. End quote. This is what Dr. David Martin said. He's a medical doctor. I am not. So that's the only thing I'm going by is there's more than just him, but there's more people that are talking about this, and we're going to have four here, and a politician who is sitting in on Robert F. Kennedy Jr. sits in on that. So I want to go to the Bible here, and you have to be very careful about taking vaccinations or taking this gene therapy, whatever it may be. I call it a vaccination, but you have doctors coming out and saying that it is not. All right, the vaccine is not a vaccine. That is rather gene therapy. It is a medical device, they say, that's being put into your body. And the reason I talk about this is because in the book of Revelation, as we know, we don't want a medical device put into us. All right, a medical device for a sickness. And to the point where one day they could put something like this and mandate it, putting something like this in us, without our consent, that we may not buy or sell or anything unless we have been vaccinated for such a thing. In other words, a medical device be put into us, and we have to have that. And the Bible talks about that in Revelation chapter 13, and it says this: and he causes all both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, say that he had the mark, or the number, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now, so this is what we're trying to be careful for. That's why we're watching it, because I would say I am 70% sure. I will not promise anything unless, because if you promise something, you break your promise, you're a liar, and you're lying to God and things. So I'm 99.99% sure that the mark of the beast, the Antichrist, all right, the beast, all right, the mark of the beast is going to be an ejection. It's going to come in some form of another pandemic, all right, later on, where you will have to be vaccinated with this thing, but this is going to be the actual mark where they're going to put it in you, all right, and it's going to be a medical device. It's going to be able to scan, read, and do all of these things. They have these things where they can go behind the retina, where it can be put right there, which is part of your forehead. They could put it in the hand, where actually the hand can light up to a reddish color, all right, to let them know who's marked and who's not. All right, so that technology is out there, and I'll share those links below for those, if I can get them down in there. If I can't get them down there, I get them shared somehow to you. You could just go on to Kitchen Table Bible Studies, or request it in the comment section below. All right, but you can go to Facebook at Kitchen Table Bible Studies, and I can share the link with you, and you can watch it yourself. All right, so we know that that we have to be careful, because this is if this is not a vaccine and this is gene therapy, well, this is what gene therapy does, all right, and this is the risk of gene therapy. All right, a new gene might be inserted into wrong location in DNA. It might misfire. Other genes may be accidentally delivered to the cell. The deactivated vector virus may be contagious. The viral vectors cause toxicity and inflammatory responses. All right, the vector viruses can affect more than one type of cell. The overexpression of missing protein, and finally, immune system complications. And what I'm saying here is that we have to be careful and look at this through the biblical perspective. If you're not sure of something like that, this is where we have to go to God, because people got the vaccine, and I'm not saying they died from, or the gene therapy or the vaccine, whatever you want to call it. All right, this thing that's out there right now, we don't know, but we know that they were fine before they got it, and afterwards they died. Like, there was one doctor, he was a healthy guy, and this is on YouTube, all right, they haven't taken it down, and he got it, and the next thing you know, he was a healthy man, and next thing you know, he died. And people want to know, did he die from the quote-unquote vaccine or gene therapy, or the shot from it? Well, it's possible, because you can have allergic reactions, immune system complication. You can have an allergic reactions to certain things like this, and it can take your life. If these things are not tested out over a period of time, and this thing is new, it's not even, that's why we're saying it's not, that's why they're saying it's not a vaccine. My opinion is that it's not a vaccine. It is a vaccination trial period. They're trying to see if this works. And we're all just guinea pigs, or the people who are taking it are guinea pigs, in my opinion, and I choose not to be one. All right, and I hate to put this disclaimer in here, I'm not anti-vaxxer and I'm not a pro-vaxxer, all right? For myself now, I'm not going to get any vaccinations, all right? But when I started school, I got them, and I have no problem with that. My kids got them, and I have no problem with that. It's because the more we go into the future, the more science is becoming political, and it gets involved in that, and you have so much money and different countries invested and organizations invested that, you know, from my point of view and a biblical point of view, they do not have the best interest of people at heart. They have the bottom line, profit, at the end of it. They want profit, they want money, and if this truly is not a vaccination, all right, and this is gene therapy, according to these doctors, there's about two doctors in this video here, and they say it is not a vaccination, but rather it's just gene therapy. And you have two people who are in the layman's section of it, and they want to know. So I'm going to play you this video, and I'm sorry for all the noise, but there's nothing I can do. So I'll go ahead and play it here.
Rocco, let's make sure we're clear on something. Let's stipulate that this is not a vaccine. I mean, we need to be really clear. We're using the term vaccine to sneak this thing under public health exemptions. This is not a vaccine. This is a mRNA packaged in a fat envelope that is delivered to a cell. It is a medical device designed to stimulate the human cell into becoming a pathogen creator. It is not a vaccine. Vaccines actually are a legally defined term, and they're a legally defined term under public health law. They're a legally defined term under CDC and FDA standards, and a vaccine specifically has to stimulate both an immunity within the person receiving it, but it also has to disrupt transmission.
Right.
And that is not what this is. They have been abundantly clear in saying that the mRNA strand that is going into the cell is not to stop transmission. It is a treatment.
Exactly.
But if it was discussed as a treatment, it would not get the sympathetic ear of public health authorities, because then people would say, well, what other treatments are there?
Hydroxychloroquine.
The use of the term vaccine is unconscionable for both the legal definition term of it, but also because it actually is the sucker punch to open and free discourse.
Yes.
Because by saying vaccine, you dump it into a thing where you can be anti or pro the therapy. But if you actually talk about it as a therapy, remember, and people forget this, Moderna was started as a chemotherapy company for cancer, not a vaccine manufacturer for SARS.
Wow.
If we said we're going to give people prophylactic chemotherapy for the cancer they don't have, you'd be laughed out of a room because it's a stupid idea.
Basically, what he's saying is they're giving you a prophylactic COVID-19. They're injecting it into your body.
That's exactly what this is. This is a mechanical device in the form of a very small packet of technology that is being inserted into the human system to activate the cell to become a pathogen manufacturing site. And I refuse to stipulate in any conversations that this is in fact a vaccine issue. The only reason why the term is being used is to abuse the 1905 Jacobson case that has been misrepresented since it was written. And if we were honest with this, we would actually call it what it is. It is a chemical pathogen device that is actually meant to unleash a chemical pathogen production action within a cell. It is a medical device, not a drug, because it meets the CDRH definition of a device. It is not a living system. It is not a biologic system. It is a physical technology. It happens to just come in the size of a molecular package. So we need to be really clear on making sure we don't fall for their game, because their game is, if we talk about it as a vaccine, then we're going to get into a vaccine conversation. But this is not, by their own admission, a vaccine. So Julie, as a result, it must be clear to everyone listening that we will not fall for this failed definition, just like we won't fall for their industrial chemical definition of health, because both of them are functionally flawed and are an explicit violation of the legal construct that is being exploited.
So, Julie, as a scientist here, could you boil that down into English for a boy who grew up blue collar? I take your explanation there, and that's superb. But for those out there who may not be able to follow that very intelligent analysis, and that's not meant as an insult, David.
I get frustrated when I hear activists and lawyers and everybody else saying we're going to fight the vaccine. If you stipulate it's a vaccine, you've already lost the battle.
Right.
It's not a vaccine.
So what should I be referring to it as? A chemical agent or?
Correct. It's a synthetic pathogen. They've literally injected the very pathogenic part of the virus into every cell of the body.
When you say pathogen, that says to me it's going to make me sick.
Correct. So
It is.
All right. Did you hear that? They're putting a synthetic. They're trying to make you sick with this, according to their own research, their own thing. And so I'm telling you, church, I wouldn't recommend it. But here's what I'm going to say. All right. The Bible says this in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 19 to 20 says, it says, "What? Know ye not that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost which is in you?" Your temple, that's your body. All right. "Which ye have of God, and ye are not your own." All right. So if we are not our own, should we put this into our body? Well, the Bible says, because it goes on to say in verse 20, it says, "For ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your spirit and in your body and in your spirit, which are God's." Your body and your spirit that belong to God. All right. So if you're not certain, well, what are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to do? And people are like, "Brother Kevin, what am I supposed to do?" Well, I just tell them this. It's like, well, I'm frozen again here, so I'm just going to go back to, I'll go back over here. This camera's been freezing up. So it says here, in James chapter 1, it says this. All right. In verse 5, it says, "If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God." If you lack wisdom, ask God, "that giveth to all men liberally, and upbraideth not." There's no bridle put on it. "And it shall be given him." But here is what you got to put behind it, and people don't get this. You can ask, but you have to do it this way. "But let him ask in faith, not wavering." You have to be steady and stay the course. "For he that wavereth is like a wave of the sea driven with the wind and tossed." It goes on, For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the Lord." All right. So if you when you ask wisdom from God, and if you waver any, you're not going to get your answer. But we have to ask God for wisdom in this, because your body is not your own. Are you putting it together now? Your body is not your own. It belongs to God, because you were bought with a price. So before you go off and putting these things in your body, you should ask for His wisdom. Should I put this gene therapy or this virus into my body, or this medical device, or whatever it may be? Should I put this into my body? Let me see if I can get back here, see if it'll work again. Unstick.